Welcome to my yet another video in our new series on Clear or Explained. There are many concepts in marketing normally create dilemma in the minds of consumers. So that is why we created a new series of videos called Clear or Explained. So we take some very different marketing concepts, unique marketing concepts, which normally creates a dilemma in the minds of consumers. And through these videos, we clear the particular dilemma or explain the dilemma in detail for the consumers to understand. So in this series, today we talk about brand immunity. So whether any brand is immune from competition or the destruction, which happens through the so many competitors coming into the market. So whether the brand immunity is a myth or reality. So that is what we will discuss in today's video. So we all know brands are spent. Normally the brands are built by spending billions, proving the product service performance and controlling the market structure, keeping the competition normally at bay and enticing the customers to be loyal. Is it real or just a myth? So this is a big question lingers in the minds of consumers. It is both in some sense. So it depends on the product, on service, the segment, the socio-economic classification to which a brand offers the value proposition. So in this video, we discuss the immunity that brands enjoy, like a virtual fence, which restricts competitors to do any damage. Is it possible? That is what we will know from this video. It also throws light on the ability of certain brands to cut across the distribution value chain for deeper penetration and reach without diluting the brand value. So this is a big question. Today, if the company wants to generate more revenues, so they should cut across the distribution value chain and they should be selling the products and services at any the channel which they choose to use. If they go for a intensive distribution or selective distribution, and the brand should not end up in exclusive distribution where it can reach only certain consumers. So let us start with whether a brand a living being. It's a living thing. Okay, this is a big question. So brand is normally an entity which provides a life to a product or service. We all agree to that. It has a several dimensions. When you say a brand, I call brand as a kind of an acronym. So it is building or influencing the perception in the minds of consumers and ensuring the reliability and creating an attitude, definitely a positive one for a successful brand. An appropriate name which consumer easily recall while they are looking to buy a product or service, and to instigate desire to buy a product or service. So if you see the brand isn't like acronym. So B for building, R for reliability, A for attitude, and name for a N for a name of the particular product or service, and finally the D for a desire. So it is like a human being who plays a vital role in instructing, guiding, and satisfying consumers' buying behavior and decision. So consumer would normally vary of choosing an unknown brand. We all know that, as they feel anxious about its performance. So they don't want to go for something which is unknown. So consumer would normally choose the brands with proven track record. We all do that, which they learn from their own experience, are educated, are influenced by peer and reference groups. So this is how the normal buying process happens. Hence, the vital role of the brand is to capture the top of mind share of potential consumers, which is very important, through providing expected value proposition. So whenever a brand creates and provides a value to the consumers, so then normally it captures the top of mind share of the consumer. Brand with sustainable life expectancy and performance normally have no issues in capturing top share of the consumers. We all experienced. It also depends on the level at which the brands communicates and attracts the different socio-economic classification of consumers like high level, middle level and lower level. There are some brands, normally the FMCG brands are leading brands, which could cut across the different socio-economic classifications and influence them to buy that. To name a few like Colgate, Pepsi, Coke, Gillette, so those kind of a thing which cut across socio-economic classification different, and consumers will buy that irrespective of whether they belong to high income or low income or middle income. There are some brands which are primarily created to focus on the top level, the higher level consumers like Christian Dior or the the Gap. So those kind of brands focus on the selective or exclusive group of socioeconomic classifications consumers, mostly the upper middle and higher income group. So therefore, the brands are communicating to the respective target groups for which they have been created to perform their job. So we all know that. It clearly shows the capability of brands acting the respective socioeconomic class. So this calls for the companies to position the brands in the respective channels to reach the prospective end users, which is very important. Then an array of vital questions linger in the minds of the companies, like how to sell high-end brands through middle and low-end channel, and how would this appeal to the target group, whether they would agree to it. Would it create a positive or negative impression? Would it alienate the existing target group or create disbelief among the different socioeconomic classification to which the brands are normally not focused on? Would there any brands could sell across different channel outlets? Is it possible? Such as high, middle and low end channel outlets. So these are the questions normally, lead to the inception of new concept. We call it as a brand immunity. That the ability of a brand to be accepted by different socioeconomic classifications and could be sold through different channel outlets meant for different socioeconomic classifications. So in this case, we go for some kind of an analysis of the brand immunity. So there are some brands which we already talked about, like Colgate, like Pepsi, Coke, Gillette, which could be sold through in any type of outlets like hypermarkets to the pawn shops or convenience stores, because the nature of the product, mostly FMCG. But though these brands belong to FMCG category, but they are capable of shelving themselves in the homes of different socioeconomic classes. It is not only meant for a certain classes, it will go for all the classes. The next category is the high income, the higher end brands like we discussed before, Christian Dior and Banana Republic, Gap. So those kind of the brands which could not be sold in any outlet because they belong to the lifestyle brands. And it has to be sold through a specific outlet where the consumers, target consumers visit. But there are some brands among this, we call it as a Louis Philippe or Van Heusen, some of you know about it, which could sell through any outlets, including factory outlets or low to middle, even low to high multi-brand outlets, even the stores which are primarily sell even the accessories for women. It could be a city, it could be a suburban area, it could be a rural area. So these brands normally they can position themselves in any type of outlets. So there is an interesting observation is that the stores which primarily sells clothes for the wedding occasions shelf these brands, quoting the reason to offer one-stop solution to the consumers who need not visit different outlets to buy these brands. So even we find the low to high-end multi-brand outlets will shelf these brands and the consumers will buy it. So it did not dilute the value of these brands. Also, these brands are available from metro to suburban areas, even rural areas. So this shows the immunity of these brands to shield themselves from the competition, the class differences, and the positioning trap. So we actually the positioning trap is at times is good for the brands, but most of the times may not work better for them. It's critical. The brands which position themselves to attract certain socioeconomic classifications could not be sold in different outlets which might be looked as a negative aspect by their own target group or create a disbelief among other groups. So this is the side effect of a positioning trap. Sometimes you position the product in the minds of consumers as such when you're trying to reach the different socioeconomic classification, the target group. So it create annihilation with both the groups you are trying to reach. Hence, the companies need to work to create brands which could sell uh, through any outlets which go beyond the positioning trap. So this is very important. How the brand can be actually can do this. The brand communications are very important, which need to be developed to address the target groups across the city or the metro area, suburban and rural areas. Because this will create a cushion for the brand to cut across different channel outlets and socioeconomic classifications in order to increase the level of penetration, which in turn lead to increasing its sales performance. So, and also it will restrict or remove the brand dilution. So the brand needs to communicate clearly to the different target consumers and the value which it provides. In that way, uh, the brand immunity would be applicable to all categories of products and services. It is not only for a high-end product or a FMCG product or lifestyle. It could be applicable for all the products. They can create a brand immunity and they can sell the products through different socioeconomic classifications and different channel outlets. So it shows very clearly the brand immunity is a reality, and it is possible if the company can play their cards uh, properly and appropriately and use proper brand communication to reach the target consumers. Thanks, Marshan, once again watching this video, a part of a cleared or explained series, and keep sharing this video with your network. Thank you very much.